Invocation by Henry, followed by the flag salute.
Father in heaven, as we gather here today, we praise your holy name and thank you for the blessings you bestow upon us. Lord, one of the greatest blessings you've given us is to live in a nation and a country where we can participate in our government. Keep us mindful, Lord, that our freedom demands vigilance and participation. Lord, I pray that this morning you would give our commissioners your guidance and wisdom in the decisions that they have to make today. Lord, let all those that come here today be respectful and honorable of one another. Lord, I offer this prayer in the name of your Son and our Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Administrative business, Tina.
All right. We have several things this morning. First, I have the minutes of March 18th and the minutes of March 20th.
We've got time to review that. I'll make a motion to approve the March 18th minutes as written.
So I will bring a correction up that needs to be made on the minutes, and that is at the bottom of the first page where it says wind energy research. It says Novak presented an article to Rural Messenger in regard to a project in Sumner County being built under a pre-existing conditional use, which has a lifetime property tax exemption. So I wasn't talking about the conditional use or the lifetime property exemption. It doesn't mention at all the subject that I was talking about. I was talking about the pilot that they were receiving. The whole subject that I was talking about was the negotiations of the pilot.
Okay.
So this right here is not a word that I said, and I don't even know, quite frankly, if it is a lifetime property tax exemption. It might be, or if it was a pre-existing conditional use. I never said any of that, so I would like to have that corrected as to what I said, or removed, one or the other.
Okay. Or I can remove that, or I can add about the pilot.
Actually, I would like it to say what I said, so if you could add it about the pilot, that would be the right thing to do, because that's what we said.
Okay. Shall we, do you want to just table these minutes, and then I can go back and review the tape and see?
Go ahead and
what you
table that, and
said?
we'll move on to
Okay.
March 20th. Have the minutes of the March 20th meeting.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of March 20th.
Second that. All in favor?
Aye.
We do have some change orders this morning. Okay, I have the audit engagement letter for Varney and Associates.
That was part of the packet.
Yes, it was. You've already approved them to perform the audit, so we just need the signature on that.
Just one?
Yes, I believe it's just the chairman. There's one signature on him. I have 2 salary sheets for the Road and Bridge temporary interim leadership positions.
Okay, the first one is a salary change for Jason Creedon from $28.30 a month to $3,113, temporary intern assistant road and bridge superintendent. And the other one is for Thomas Hollab from $3,436 to $3,779, temporary interim road and bridge superintendent.
We have area fuel bids. There's one for each of you.
This is the total bid, right?
No, this one you can
Split
split.
out, okay.
Although it looks like co-op is
Yep.
the cheapest one all the way down.
Yeah, they got all three,
Mhm.
cooperative grade and supply. I'll make a motion to approve the co-op grain and supply fuel bid for area 1, 2,996, area 2, 40,290, and area 3, 4,212, for a total of 11,498.
Second.
Okay, moving second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, on the table in front of you this morning, you have a proclamation of disaster declaration.
Okay.
And Randy Frank is here, so he can kind of explain or answer any questions on that.
Go ahead, Randy.
Good morning. The declaration actually includes one location, that's Center School. On the 13th, we had a real bad windstorm come through. The wind actually lifted the top of the gymnasium and rolled back parts of the roof. The estimated damage right now is $75,000. I have to wait for the insurance people to come and actually tell us what it is, but that's their estimated damage, which meets our threshold, which is only $46,000 for Marion County. Now it has to go up to the state, and then there has to be a cumulative $4.5 million damage within the state for the same storm. We're still considered the same storm with the flooding that's going on right now in the Missouri River. That's all part of the same storm system. So as long as they're continuing in the response until they get to the recovery part, anything else that comes up, I talked to Road and Bridge, and the gentleman I spoke with said they don't have anything that came from that, and it was mostly wind anyhow. I thought there might be some debris, tree damage, things like that. They said they don't have anything. So it makes us eligible for a presidential declaration request. And in order to do that, we have to have a declaration here at the county level.
No other houses or nothing up in that area?
Well, housing comes under a different category. And there was some damage, but not enough to meet the threshold.
Okay, we have a proclamation in front of us declaring a state of local emergency for Marion County, which involves the center school. Proclamation dated as of today. So I would make a motion to go ahead and approve that disaster proclamation.
I'll second.
Okay, moved in second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Just need to sign one of these, that one.
What could it possibly help them with if they have insurance and everything, Randy? The deductible or something?
It depends, yeah, right. Once it becomes a FEMA declaration, the FEMA comes in here, they visit with the school, find out what the insurance company's actually gonna pay, and then they'll get help with what's left. That'll be the piece. Obviously, insurance has to pay before the government.
Right.
All right, thanks, Randy.
Dean, if you could just email me a copy, it'd be great.
I'll do that. Thanks, Randy. We do have a pay estimate number 2 on the transfer station. That was in your packet. And so we would need approval of this and then so that we can pay it. And then there's a place for the chairman to sign. The total amount that they're requesting at this time is $58,042.85.
Motion to approve the $58,042.85 for the pay estimate order.
I'll second it.
Okay, moved and seconded to approve the pay estimate, $58,042.85. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you. Okay. And in your packet, you had some sample survey questions that one of the focus groups at the lake would like to utilize. And so Matt is here. If you have,
over there.
yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
If you have
Go ahead, Matt.
questions, or he can explain what that's about.
So this is one of the NRES groups at K-State, the ones who have been coming down doing different studies out at the lake. They have been looking at the what is it, the National Lake Management Association, something similar to that. And the first focus that they have in their guidebook for developing a lake management plan is information and outreach. So that group has taken on the project of developing a survey. They have this Word document survey as well as one that they've started to build online. Both of those are drafts. They're not ready to send out. They know that, but they wanted some input. They had myself, Isaac reviewed it, Ricky Roberts reviewed it, Lisa Suderman reviewed it, and they wanted you guys to review it as well. See if you had any input on the survey, anything that you liked, didn't like. The other item that they were looking at was outreach. How do we get this out to the people who need to be taking this? You can always get information from Qualtrics, $2 a person, a little bit expensive. Some of the things brainstorming that the students have come up with are the lake does have a Facebook page, which I believe has close to 1,000 likes. That may be a place to distribute a survey. Otherwise, if the county had any kind of database as far as email-wise or potentially even mailings if we needed to do that, whatever you guys thought was appropriate. Essentially, they are just wanting some feedback of how do you feel about this survey, what do you like, what don't you like. It is very broad, and they acknowledge that it is not well put together yet at this point. They do want to get moving on this quick. They're hoping to actually have something to go out within the next couple weeks so that they can get some preliminary data yet this semester and have something to present for their final project.
I think the social media part is good, but, you know, you're probably always gonna have a few that don't have access. So I don't know how you handle the mailings. You'd have to have a list of residents.
And that would be, what would you like to see as a survey size? A lot of people do look at it and go, well, look at the people at the lake. Well, it's not, and I live there, it's not our lake, it is the county's lake. So do you do a subsample of the information that the county has? I don't know how you feel about sending surveys out to constituents, things like that. I don't know those things, those aren't my purview, so that's why we're here requesting guidance from you all.
I just looked at it, and biggest thing I look at, there's 2 or 3 different user groups and different interest groups. And, you know, the fishing part of it, the relaxation part of it, the boating part of it, that's 3 for just the lake. Then you have the next set of group, the border, like you yourself, who lives around the lake, and just different user groups is all involved in the Marion County Lake. And then you have the trailer park up there, those people come and enjoy it through the summer. So I think there's the different users groups that, there's at least 4 or 5, maybe more, that's besides the general public of Marion County and the general public. So that's, if we can look at it from those different angles, that's all I care to look at.
So as far as the county as a whole, would you survey a percentage? I mean, it'd be pretty tough to send one to every person in Marion County.
Yeah. And I don't
Like
think,
spot sampling?
yeah, something
What
like
about
that.
the landowners that are above the lake? Now,
So that brings up another point that we actually had a discussion on here. If you scroll towards the bottom, one of the questions they had was actually about sewage entering the lake, and we had a discussion about the fact that all homes out there have now been attached to the pressurized sewage system. There are no more leach fields, anything like that,
I'm not
which
positive.
brought up another point of what about inflow water quality, and they aren't asking any specific questions about that. They're going to steer away from that in the survey, just due to honestly general public knowledge versus perception of those things. So while those landowners could be included in the survey, however the subset is developed, there won't be anything asked in the survey directly affecting them. That's as it currently sits.
Getting a correct percentage to survey, I don't know how that's done. As you know, the further to the west of the county, the least is known. The further south, the further north. I mean, it's just, unless you have a specific interest to come to.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as the county goes, maybe, you know, a random sampling from each area of the county.
Does the county have a database that could be used to develop that subset? I mean, there's obviously addresses that could be sent out hard copy. It could be sent hard copy. There is also, and they're planning on developing an online survey as well, which again does create access issues.
Yeah. Any type of media, you can use a certain, give money savings rather than a lot of postage.
Yeah, if you put up a survey down on Main Street, Marion, Peabody, and Hillsborough, you know, I don't know if that's gonna do anything for you or not, I don't know.
Okay.
And as far as the database, only thing, I mean, really the only thing I can think of is in regard to tax roll. You know, we send out tax bills, but that's, you know.
Is that confidential or is that publicly available? Good question.
I would think it would be public information.
It depends on what it is. I mean, the names and addresses are public,
So something like that, a name and an address, and then
but trying to access that, you know,
depending on what database format it can be exported in, they've got some advisors up there at K-State that I would have to ask Carl, the advisor. They may have the ability to develop a subset. Because I know anytime something's coming out of K-State involved with K-State, they do have some certain steps they have to go through to make sure that a survey is valid, that it's good. They have to run through some very specific people. So they may have that ability to develop that subset. I just have to ask them on that.
I mean, most of the questions seem pretty valid.
Okay. Nothing glaringly missing or anything like that that you saw, or, okay. I will take that back to them, that seems valid, would like to make sure that the different user groups are all hit.
But yet that goes to saying, which group is this that's doing this now?
This is the Natural Resource and Environmental Sciences course, the capstone course up at K-State.
And their project will be just what's coming in environmental wise.
Their project is to develop a survey for gathering of information. This
So
is
there are other
the,
groups that are working on projects out there too.
there are, they haven't told us what those projects are. One of them has said that they were going to focus on a wildlife assessment. There's been a small one done out there. We don't have details on that yet, and the third group has not contacted us, though I do know the advisor for that, and he is very heavy into water quality. So my guess is that they will be looking at something along those lines.
I think the user groups cover it for me though.
Okay. All right, I will check and see if they have the ability to develop a subset and what kind of database they need to do that.
Okay.
All right,
Thanks, Matt.
thank you very much.
Matt.
Have a good day.
Hey, bud,
Well, the team don't-
or did you
Yeah,
have any
I'm-
more?
No, I'm good.
Okay, I have a question under administrative math.
Oh, we got
Before we
some
move on.
administrative?
Yeah.
Okay, I guess, hold up, bud.
So I would like to ask, on the MCC EDC, they did pay the final payment to the county, so I believe they probably cleared out their bank account, if I'm not mistaken, so it's probably pretty close to a done deal. But my question is, did they turn over the payroll documents yet?
No. The person who did the payroll had mentioned that they have a busy schedule, and so it would probably be later in March if they,
Okay, so later in March would be sometime this week yet.
possibly.
So, I'm just thinking that, you know, I was gonna ask the commission that we need to ensure that we get those payroll documents. I mean, I just don't see any reason why they're being held back for so long. They need to be turned over and then finalize everything out. So, I have been asking for them for quite some time, and I just don't understand why they were held back, but that's fine. If they're gonna turn them over by the end of March, the later
I
part
can
of
follow up
March,
again and ask.
I would appreciate that, because I just think it's high time they're turned over.
Yeah, I don't know that they have to turn any of that over to the county.
Well, I would
But we
disagree a
can
little
ask.
bit with that, because they've turned everything over, and they never did establish their independence from the county, because they didn't sign the contract. And so if they turned everything over, except the payroll documents, in a transparent world, that doesn't look too transparent. So I would suggest, you know, and that's my reason right there, I mean, I don't understand why they're withholding one document. I just haven't heard about it before that yet, so just to bring it to conclusion and to be transparent and get it done, I think they need to bring them forth to the county.
I don't think when we set our money aside, I don't think we asked that of them, but
Well, they were always an independent group, so they're not really
Yeah.
the county, and so those records are independent of the county. Now, they can choose to turn them over, and they have chosen to turn everything over, everything else.
Yeah.
So, it's my opinion, in speaking with the person that has the payroll records, that they intend to turn them over. I just,
hope they do.
yeah, I don't really have authority to say we need them now, because they're not our records, so.
So, and the only other thing I will add to that, I think we said the very same thing in the situation with Teresa Huffman and the board that she was on. I mean, you know, when you're using taxpayer money, there needs to be accountability. And I will question Mr. Jantz on the legalities of that, because I just find that hard to believe that we have no authority on that. And again, you know, just like with Teresa Huffman, that was a different board, a different situation, and we said we didn't have any control over that. And perhaps we did not, but look what happens.
I think
They were an autonomous group,
Right.
of which we contributed to, was a major contributor.
Right.
And yeah, it'd be nice to have those, but legal-wise, that'd be a question of Brad.
Yeah, I hope they do turn them over, no problems, but also we give to about 15 other, 20 other groups, and we don't request that of them, so I'm just saying, if we're gonna do that, well, then I guess we're gonna request it of everybody then.
Well, and I understand exactly what you're saying, and that's true, but there's one little tiny caveat on this one right here. They were also requesting that we handle their payroll through the county. I mean, that's where we were moving to, so it was gonna be a more of an intermesh type thing, and they did report to the county. So, I mean, there's a little bit more, like I said, we did make up the contract to actually finalize all that for them to be separate, but they never signed it. And so there was obviously a reason for that contract, or we would have never made one up. So I think I will contact, or get the final answers from Brad, because it just, to me, stinks a little bit that we get all the documents, but payroll. I mean, just looks a little funny to me, it's all.
Well, and also keep in mind that payroll documents are not open records either.
No, I understand that, but you have a lot of them right there in your office, and even though they're not open records, I think the commissioners in a commission meeting in an executive session could review them.
Of your own employees, not some other organization potentially, so.
Yeah, there's some legality there we
I'm
need,
gonna
Right.
we
find
need
out from
clarity
Brad,
on.
because I'm gonna find out from Brad. So I'll leave it at that, find out from Brad, but I just want you to know that I am working on that, and I am concerned about it. And then the second thing is I got a copy of the quarterly financial that was put into the paper of the individual departments, a wonderful document, and it is something that I think that perhaps the commission should have in their packet on a quarterly basis, just so that we could stay abreast a little bit of the expenditures of each department. I noticed that it also says at the bottom that a detailed statement of the expenditures is available. And I think just to keep us abreast, I think every quarterly we should have that put in our packet. Just,
That's easy.
okay?
And you do get monthly reports that show you all of that information and more.
And-
But if you want that quarterly document just like that, that's fine. We can put that in your packet. also.
Yeah, this is just kind of like a really
It's
cool
consolidated
overview.
statement,
Mhm.
that
This
does,
is.
makes it a little
Yeah.
easier to read.
Sure,
Yeah, I think that's a wise thing to keep us
sure.
on everything right there. And and finally, the last thing that I want to say is Mr. Jean being here, and I realize that the county has agreed to have the commission has agreed to have the county take over the videoing of the commission meetings. The reason why we have two here today is because there was a communication issue. Tina did text me on Friday and let me know that she had it ready to be set up, and that she was still taking bids and didn't have everything finalized, but she had it set up, and we had a conversation back and forth. I had already had Jean contacted at the beginning of last week to sit here. I do pay Jean, and so since I pay him, I want him here, and so that's why he's here also today. I didn't have enough notice to go ahead and change any of the plans or anything like that. And since Tina does not have everything complete yet as far as the third party who's gonna do that, so that's why there's two here today. And I will say the reason why I have Jean and Yvonne is because of transparency and to avoid any look of being inappropriate. I never touch the camera or the card or anything like that. I have a third party who does that, so that there's no bias there, or anybody can say that I cut anything or did anything like that, because I just don't touch it, but I do have, that's why Yvonne volunteered for me to do that. And so these are details that Tina is still working out for the county to take over on that. So just in case I had questions, people had said, oh, you got two of them, so that's the reason why.
Okay.
As far as the recording, when the county is prepared to take that over, I will not be having a third party. It will either be an employee or we'll have a system that we can manually run from the table. Transparency is very important, and that's something I'd like to improve on by being able to record every meeting and then allowing the public to choose which ones they watch, and by making sure that we get even the ends of the meetings. And so that's what we had discussed before. Since we're looking for more transparency and to have an official copy that the county says this is what the meeting was. And so we are ready to go with with what we have. It's not it's not ideal. I am getting bids on a system that we can be able to zoom in and out and control everything by remote control. So, but it's up to you guys as far as if you want us to wait to start recording until we have those bids approved and the room set up, or if you want us to use the alternate camera that we have. So, but we're ready either way.
I think we should just go ahead that way.
And
That's
so,
my feeling.
I would say one thing about the county employee, like I said, Yvonne was a volunteer. I just don't think that we should have an employee sit here for 4 hours or 5 hours and all the special meetings. They have a job that they're being paid to do. I mean, this is just something that I started up a long time ago, and with a volunteer, it doesn't cost the taxpayers any money. So I just think that we should think about how we're gonna do it if it's gonna be taken away from the volunteer. And I
think we voted on it to do it with the county, and that's where we're gonna go as far as I'm concerned.
well, I understand that, but don't you want it to be done right, or don't you, I mean, after all,
Well,
this
I
is the
think we can do it
commission
right.
meeting, it's not the clerk's meeting, it is the commission meeting, so how do we want it? I mean, I took great pride in the way I've done it, and I just think that we should put forth a little bit of that.
Who's your third party is it a paid person? that
No,
takes
that's
care-
your Vaughn, except for
Well,
Jean.
then, could
Janine.
Yvonne cut the tapes, do something different with them? I don't know. I'm just saying.
But I'm
that's-
saying I didn't, as a commissioner,
I didn't
I
say that. I
didn't.
said, could Yvonne? Yeah, she could.
Anybody can.
Right.
That's
So I'm
exactly
hoping that
right.
there's none of that.
But the point is, Randy, I know you understand it, but the point is, it just eliminates any appearance of inappropriate. Like if I would took it and had it myself, then it would look fishy for me, but I didn't.
There's
So I'm
been-
saying the same
been
thing
quite
with the,
a few complaints about what shows on the tape and stuff, so that's why there was some questions.
well, the only thing is that Yvonne didn't do was when we went into executive sessions at the end, they always asked if there was gonna be decisions. The press does it as well many times. If there's not gonna be any decisions, they leave, okay? And with a volunteer, that's what you have. The meeting was recorded, so I mean.
Right, and if we're
it
doing
was-
an official county recording of the meeting, then it should be the whole meeting, and I think that's why you guys voted to go ahead and do that, and then that would be done by official county staff. And so, I'm happy to do that, I've taken steps to be able to do that, to follow what you voted on, so.
Well, like this camera, I mean, it's just, we don't need an operator on it once it's on.
No, the problem is with the remote, you cannot zoom in on a specific area. So
What would
if
you
we
zoom
go
in?
ahead and utilize it, it would sit here, it would just be a bird's eye view of the meeting. And we haven't really tested it as far as putting it on the internet to see the volume and everything. And we had talked initially about maybe Diane letting us use her camera until we were ready with the professional equipment, but that hasn't happened, so we are ready. I can operate it by remote to turn it on and turn it off, and can make arrangements to post it in the same way we have been. And as an official county recording, I would also link it to the county website.
We looked at it years ago, and I think that was before using the county clerk. We wanted to get some equipment in here to do this with, and this has been our equipment since you've got in here and stuff, but we originally wanted some microphones and stuff like that all.
That's part of what, I've contracted 3 different companies, and that the cameras and then also sound for the room are things that we've been looking at, but it's not gonna be cheap. It's gonna be expensive to do it, so I should have those proposals back in a couple of weeks. But in the meantime, if you want the county to take over, we can do it with the equipment that we have. It's up to you. We're ready whenever the board is ready.
And so I would just say that she set up then to do the remote, and I think the remote is fine. I just have a problem with an employee sitting in here for 4 or 5 hours every
Well,
Monday plus
My
special
question
meetings.
was that Tina said she could run that by remote.
Yeah,
Yeah, I have it right
So
here.
do we have to have another county?
We don't.
No.
The only reason that you would be if you want to be able to zoom in, like if you want to be able to focus the camera on the hot seat while Bud is telling us whatever he's telling us. It's just better quality. to be able to focus in on the person in their happy smile and let them tell their story. Or, you know, we can't change the view or zoom in or out with the remote system.
I would think once there's a system installed in here, I think that you would have probably 2 or 3 cameras.
I'm looking at, we're starting off with, we want to be able to, we're asking them to bid 1, but with the ability to add 2, or to add 1 more. 2 would be ideal for the minimum, to where you can show different views and you can switch between. And the other thing is, with this setup with just the remote, you're not able to change the view, so if someone in the public wanted to speak, they probably would need to go and sit here in the hot seat for a while until we have better capabilities. Because now, you can move the camera to be able to, if you have an operator, that's the only other reason you would want an operator in the room, so that you can see whoever is speaking.
And at the initial, when I put up the camera here, I do remember we had that same conversation, and the board was opposed to that because they said that a lot of people didn't want to be on camera and stuff, so we had it just permission. We intentionally did not put it to the people, although I thought that was the best way to do it, but that raised a little bit of concern that maybe people would be intimidated or whatever and didn't want to be focused in on a camera, so I went away from that and never even got a camera that would be able to do that, or even asked anybody to zoom in on somebody. Now, I don't know what Jean does, but I know Yvonne never did. Yvonne never panned in on any one person that I'm aware of. So, and for that reason.
Okay, what's the commission's wishes?
So I'm just saying, I'm fine with it while she does the remote is fine. And it's right there, so it's okay.
That's kind of what we voted on, so
Okay,
we'll move forward with that.
okay.
Anything else administrative?
That's all I have administrative.
Okay. All right, bud.
Okay, I got a pay estimate here from Call Valley, and this is the one that needs to be signed.
Oh, is that the,
52,000?
We did that.
That's one
yeah, we
we
already
just
did
did
that. I thought you were just bringing tire
No,
kicker
this-
bids.
No, this is a different one.
58,000.
Yeah, that's what we just approved.
Yeah, 58,042, yeah. That's right.
You
Is that
signed
pay
up.
estimate number 2?
Yes, 1 of 2.
Oh, yeah, this is estimate number 2, yeah.
Yeah, we signed off on it.
Well, that's what I thought, but they sent it to me to be signed off.
Well, we just did it today.
Oh, okay. Well, then,
Don't need that.
you step
Have
ahead
you
of
got
me.
a copy of it? Let me have it. You got it?
Yeah, I got it.
Thank you, bud.
It's in the packet.
Yeah.
Okay, last time I was here, Randy requested that I get bids on the regular tire cutter, and I got those. And I checked with KDHE, and Marion County can become a tire cutting facility.
Same one, I just next one. I have 2.
And don't have, only thing that would have to be changed is the plan of operation down at the transfer station. And I was thinking that maybe some of the businesses that deal with tires, I don't know what they're paying to get rid of them. I could check on them and see if they wanted to, you know, we could figure out how much we could do it for. And, you know, that would be a way to have some income coming in, you know, to chop the tires and dispose of them, maybe get you know, benefit for some of the county businesses, you know, because right now there's a few places that take tires. And if they're all going north, they're paying an outrageous price. So
Did you price any stationary units?
that is well, the stationary units, no. Those are about, I didn't figure you wanted a stationary unit. I thought you wanted to have one portable so if you had to move it around. You know, this is just on a two-wheel trailer, you know.
Right.
Is what it is.
But what I'm saying, the
You're
cost
right.
of these are probably higher than the stationary unit.
Actually, they're not.
They're not? Really?
It's quite a difference than the one that you showed us to begin with.
Yeah, well, just so you know, I brought these bids in 2 years ago on these pieces of equipment. And Eagle International was at $47,500 and Desco was at $35,500. So they've gone up. Well, the Eagle International has come down and Desco has gone up $300.
Any difference in the style of cutting? Is they all using a carbide bit?
Yeah, they're all with the replaceable bit, you know, that's on. It's a big, I call it a bit, but it's whatever it is. They both, I mean, between Eagle International and Desco, they both have the lift on them, so you can lift up the motor grader tires, and I believe the International one has the rollers on the table, so one man can spin the tires instead of, if he gets a big tire, having to have help for it. So, but that's the regular set and spill tire cutting machine. That's what these are.
I think the argument even back then was, I'd still, no matter what you do, if you spend this money for cutters, and you try getting it back out of the tires, and we have the tires out there.
Yeah, but I think, I haven't really put any figures to it, but I'm thinking that we could probably either stay the same with what we call now, or possibly drop the price. But that would be your decision. I would bring the figures to you after I got it done. I just am bringing in what you guys requested and go from there, so.
Is there a safety difference between these and then
The
Skid
skid
steer.
steer one? Well, these here, you're back out of the way. The skid steer one, I mean, the guy in the skid steer is inside working the controls. The guy outside, once he gets the tire in place, he's gonna step back and stay out of the way, just the same as what you are here, you know. They do have safety issues, you know, that are better for these. Because it's sitting there, it's solid. You put the tire up there, it chops it, you spin it around, and the levers are over here to activate it. You gotta step back out of the way after you turn the tire. So, you know, it's, there's some places you can go online and watch everything being done, you know, with them, so. So anyway.
That's a lot of difference between what was the one on the skid steer.
$3,800. Yeah. And
those here if you guys want a copy of them?
the thing of the matter is we're gonna have to do something, because all of the places that do take the tires are getting full, and they got no place to send them, so we can't store them very long, or else we'll be in violation of it.
So, but because of the difference in price,
Yeah.
$3,800
Yeah.
versus $31,000,
Right.
that's your lowest bid. What do you think in the operation is the most easiest or reasonable one that we can work with to get the job done? I mean, that's a huge price.
Yeah,
So
it is a huge price
what's
difference.
the-
I mean, the one on the skid steer, if you're gonna cut the motor grader tires, you may have to do it in 3 cuts, because you may have to go in there and cut one sidewall, and then come in and go down and cut the tread while it's laying on the ground, and then flip it over and make the final cut, you know. That would be the main thing, because I don't think it would, it might, but I don't know if it would. I know it would cut 1 layer, but I don't think it would cut 3. I mean, the one we used it worked on the car tires great, but it wasn't sharp enough to do the heavy duty truck tires, and we weren't gonna do anything to that unit because it was not ours, so we just used it for trying it out, and it cut the car tires real good, and it started cutting the truck tire, but the only thing is it wasn't going close enough together to finish cutting them, so.
So then I have to ask you, then the next one on this one would be the Dynamax at $23,000. How much of an improvement would that be?
That one there is made especially for cutting tires. When
Okay.
I contacted them, they said we make one that is strictly for cutting tires, not a tree shear, but a tire shear cutter. So that one there is made distinctly for cutting tires, for the steel in the tires.
And would that cut like the bigger tires and stuff, and that would be so?
It's designed to cut motor grader tires, because I told them that's what I would need, is something that would cut motor grader tires.
So then we
But
could
then
keep-
you're looking at probably a 2-man operation again for that one. You know,
All of these are two-man operations.
on the skid steer would be. I mean, if the guy got proficient on it, he could probably come down and snip, you know, and do it. One, I mean, and my only thing is when you start doing that, you're getting down in the ground, and then you're dulling your blade, and then you're not gonna be cutting, and then you're fighting it.
And these are all attachments, right? On the first one, tree
Right,
skid is?
yeah, that's all skid steer
So-
truck.
So you're planning on using the second skid steer, or after we
Right,
get everything done, maybe the first one,
whichever.
whichever.
Either one of them will run any one of those. They have enough power to do
What I'm
it.
getting at is if you're using it, then you gotta switch bucket and get back into this. Get
So,
it.
so the one from White Star, that's just basically a tree steer too.
Yeah.
And that's the one you
We
tried.
used it, and
That was a used one,
yeah, and that one didn't work very well.
so you wouldn't recommend it.
No, I wouldn't recommend that one.
I mean, I hate to spend the $38.95 and we get it here and then Road and Bridge, I guess, would inherit it.
Well,
Worst case scenario.
I've talked to the dealer up there, and he knows it'll cut tires, and I've seen the video, you know, on YouTube and stuff of them cutting the car tires, and I asked him, I said,
Greater
well,
tire?
huh?
A greater tire?
I asked him if it would handle a greater tire, and that's when he told me you may have to do the 3 cuts. It may not cut,
Yeah, okay.
you know, go up and grab and cut, and then you might have to open up, pull forward and cut again, or you can make the 3 cuts, you know, and if one guy's doing it and he learns how to do it, you know, you can cut up probably 4 or 5 greater tires in no time, you know.
How often do you do this?
Whenever.
Just whenever?
Well, right now, you know, we're hauling off. If we had a tire cutter, I would.
You just do it when you had time?
Well, either that, or if you had some come in, get them chopped up and get them thrown in the bin.
No storage.
Yeah, because then after you get the bin full, then we just call Butler County and they say bring them in, and they tell us where to dump them, we dump them, and that's it.
Does any of these 3 over here have a 1,000, 5,000, 10,000 tire life? And these over here have a 5 or 1,005 or 10,000 tire life?
There's the ones that I gave you today. I know that there's people that are using them. Where we're taking our tires now, his machine, I don't know how old it is, and it's still going strong. Ford County has one of the Descos, and I contacted him 2 years ago, and he highly recommends. He said that some of his people who were bringing him tires went ahead and bought their own tire cutter, and they're cutting their own, you know. And then I don't know where they dispose of them at, but anyway, he said he still gets a lot of business from in county. You know. He's talking like the people in Dodge City and stuff like that, them bigger tire dealers like that have their own. So.
Yeah, they would have a lot more volume.
Right, yeah, a lot more volume. I mean, we have a lot of volume here because we get a lot of tires in. So, like I said, my main concern is we need to look to an alternative way to get rid of them, because eventually we're gonna run out of spots to go. That's, the one we're at right now is gonna go out of business, and I can't find any place else to take them. I do have one place to take them, up at Concordia. They come down and pick them up. We pay for them to come pick them up. And when I quit them 3 years ago, they were charging $140 for a motor grader tire for us to have to pay to get rid of. Car tires were $10, and we got it cut down to $10 to get rid of a motor grader tire, and $2 for a car tire. So that's the other alternative, is to pay high dollar to get rid of it. And these people up there, they grind them up and sell the grindings to people to use.
So I'm guessing your highest volume, those car tires.
Pretty much, yeah. You know, Road and Bridge, they when they change tires out on motor graders and trucks and stuff,
Yeah.
you know, that's not all the time. That's just whenever they do it. And when they do it, then we're flooded, you know. But it's not all the time to do that. Most of the time, it's car tires and maybe a few semi tires, but not very often.
Didn't we just do a tire bid here just last week or so? Yeah,
We did.
Yeah, with Ross.
Last couple of
You do that about twice a year, I think.
Mhm.
Car tire bids.
But anyway,
Tire bids.
I just wanted you guys to see what I did, and like I said, I haven't followed up any with businesses because I wanted to see which direction might be thinking about going, because, you know, if we're not gonna go with the regular machine, I wouldn't wanna contract with people and have just a skid steer cutter, you know, because then we'd be flooded on that machine, I'm afraid. But if we go with the regular tire cutter, I think we could utilize it, make it pay for itself.
Be nice to look at some type of return on investment on that. I mean,
Yeah.
based on what volume you've been running and what you can generate, you know, how quickly could we pay off something like that?
If we're in trouble, what's Rod's Tire doing?
They must be contracting with somebody else to get rid of it. That's the only thing I can say. I've contacted a few people down at Wichita that are licensed to take the tires, and they are contracting with Concordia to get rid of it. So that's what all the places I checked with down there. There is a place in Kansas City. I didn't even contact them because that's over on the Missouri side, and I don't feel like driving up there with that trailer and stuff, you know. That's probably a 4-hour trip one way with that thing, you know. So I just didn't even want to go there and contact them and see what they did. But I would, like I said, I didn't check in. I did check with KDHE to see if it was possible for us to do it for people, have them bring the tires in and we charge them for it. And he said, yeah, since we're affiliated, then we don't have to have anything special. The only thing we have to do is change our plan of operation, add this to the plan. But
If we got that busy, we might be able to add another employee too.
well, that thought has crossed my mind too, you know, if we got that busy with them, so. And
So which one of these, you had talked about the Desco. Well, are you more in favor of the Desco or the Eagle, or do you have a preference?
I've seen more of the Eagles around this part of the country. The Descos, you know, they're, and according to the lady I speak with, if you have a problem, they're here the next day at the latest.
You're talking about the Desco?
Desco. Desco. I wouldn't, either one would probably work good, because I've watched them both, you know, operate on their videos that they provide for you to watch on their websites and stuff, and you know, it makes everything easy. That's what it does. I mean, it's something that we gotta do. Everybody's gotta do it, you know, gotta get rid of them tires. So.
You got paid for it.
Yeah, they do.
And you like the gas better than the diesel?
Either one's, you know, because it's not going to be, neither one of them are going to be inside unless we build its own little, maybe put a canopy thing over top of it, you know, so if it's wet out, the guys can work and not be getting all wet. So. But
Well, based on what I've heard, my feeling, you guys can say whatever you say. I'd just soon just go ahead and buy that tree shear and see how we get along. I mean, worst case scenario, if it just flat won't work on the big stuff, we've got options to use it in other departments.
right.
I mean, it's not like something, well, we go park that under the tree.
Tree shear on that.
So,
That's solid, yeah.
that's all you got to say. Yeah.
So to me, it's an investment not just for the transfer station, but it could be utilized otherwise also.
So which one are you referring to?
I'm just looking at the Stillwell sales.
What happens if we come back and we hear it takes 2 guys a couple days, and it don't work good? What do we do then?
Well, then we wasted time and money, I guess. Personally, I'd like to just buy one that looks good and do the job myself. if that's what you need to do the job, then that's what you need to do the job. Time is money. And, that's just a basic business principle.
I mean, myself.
I mean, I
think-
watch farmers all the time, and my gosh, they waste so much time trying to save a buck. So, it's interesting. That would be
We
my
also
thought.
don't know exactly what, by the time we get the transfer station rebuilt, if we're gonna need another kind of piece of equipment. Or, you know, looking out there, we don't see it. You know, it's like anything else when you build something. Oh, now wait a minute, now we need this. Hadn't even thought about that.
Yeah.
There's quite a difference between 38 and 31, even at the lowest price of instant. Ones I just seen the installments, but I haven't seen it working.
Right.
That's why I asked that question.
Yeah.
You know, and I just hate to see our employees struggle with inadequate tools. I watch that a lot, and you know, and I understand it. I understand it fully.
Yeah, that one we used, it was a struggle.
I don't know how you do a job with one hand tied behind your back. I really don't. So you can't do a good job unless you have the proper tools.
And there's too many tires. We started off with a lot of people just cutting the saws off. We might even done that.
Well,
That's time consuming
Time consuming
and it's dangerous. And, you know,
yeah, you don't wrapped up.
yeah.
I would say if we're gonna have tire business coming, and if it's not gonna go away, I personally would say we should buy the Eagle Tough Cut for $31,000 and do the job. I know I'm starting to see more tires in the ditches lately. Just on my way here today, I think I've seen about 5 at different
Yeah.
places.
If we're gonna do that, though, we need to have some kind of price structure in,
Yeah,
set from the get-go.
right.
To take outside tires.
For outside tires. Because, I mean, you're basically looking at a side business here.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd have to go to the businesses and see if they're even interested in doing that, you know, so. Like I said, I wasn't.
Well, do we wanna contact, before we do this, wanna contact somebody like Rod's Tire or something? Say,
I
hey,
can go do that, you know, if you want.
this is gonna be a possibility,
Right.
would you utilize it?
That would be something a lot better. Like I said, I wasn't gonna go do it. I
Before
got these
we
and I-
act on it, I'd like for you to check on that.
Yeah, that's fine, I can do that.
I mean, we don't wanna sit here forever.
No.
No,
But, you know, if we can get the local, you know, I don't know, Cardi does a lot of tires too.
yeah,
Agri Trails does a
Yeah.
lot of tires.
yeah.
Contact the main ones and just see.
Right.
I mean, even like Hillsboro Ford, Midway, they're selling tires. So they've got used tires.
Yeah, I'll get something put together and come back.
I think
with
that
it.
would be appropriate.
That way then you can make it.
Okay, thanks, Bud.
Okay,
Anything
that's all I
else?
got.
Yep.
Okay. Henry, we'll take your comments at the end of the meeting.
I was a mechanic for a lot of years. Found out with tools, and this is a tool you're talking about. When you buy cheap tools, you get cheap tools.
Understand? Okay, Darren?
Good morning.
Got an update for us on 330?
Good morning.
Oh, thank you.
Going number 3?
Yeah, no.
330th update. We met last week, Lance with Bergkamp and Jesse and I met up on 330th to look again to see if anything had changed since last fall. And Bergkamp committed to last fall, you know, repairing what's that one spot that's going bad up there. We didn't find any other spots that are going bad. There are some more cracks that have developed. That's the nature of asphalt. Bergkamp is going to seal those. So what we have decided, I made the call. This is my decision. They said they could come do it anytime in the next, probably in the next month. I said I would prefer to wait till about May. And the reason for that is I want the hot mix plants to be fully up and operational for the year. I don't want to get the kind of the leftover stuff that's sitting around from the winter. I don't want the oil in the tank that's, I mean, it's a very small patch area, but we don't need to hamstring ourselves again by putting something that's not the best product. So I wanted to make sure the plants had a chance to get flushed out in the spring here before we built hot mix. So, but that one spot, he's gonna cut it out. It's probably only gonna be a couple 100 feet long and about 2 feet wide. They'll cut out, they'll come in, they'll peel the base back, put some geogrid down, put AB 3 or 1 in there, pack down a foot of that, and then resurface with asphalt in that patch area. And then, like I said, then they'll come through and they'll seal the cracks on a whole 8-mile stretch.
So Darren, did you do any other bore tests in those cracks to see if it's
Not
actually
this time, we
base?
did last fall.
Okay.
And last fall, there's no other base problems on the other ones.
There was
In fact, the cores that we took in the first mile, right near the first house, it's on the south side, between the county line and the first intersection there. The crack that you see in that particular location actually only went through, remember that asphalt up there is 2 1.5-inch lifts. So we have a total of 3 inches, 2 1.5 lifts. That crack in that particular location was only in the top 1.5 inch. It did not even extend into the second 1.5. And there's a couple cracks that have developed throughout the road. We stopped and took some pictures of, and we stuck some, we have rods that we can stick down in them. A couple of locations you couldn't even get the rod to go into the second 1.5-inch lift, so it's purely the top 1.5. So at this point, the best thing we can do is get them sealed up so we don't get moisture in them and they don't get bad.
Okay.
But the only place we're seeing any kind of base issue is that one spot right there at Eagle. So just past Eagle on the south side, south shoulder. And that's right where we made the cut. That's right where we took a little bit of that hill off. They're also going to, when they do that work, they're going to go ahead and shave a little bit out of the ditch there. Not that that was causing a problem, but if it can help. We did shave out the ditch when we did it before, but there's no good explanation as to why just that one stretch of 2 foot wide, and it's only about 50 feet long, is the actual only spot that's failing. So on 8 miles of road, I think that's actually a pretty good, after 16 months now, that we've only had one spot fail in any way, shape, or form compared to the condition of that road before we did the project. That's a pretty good ratio.
So that'd just be a normal crack seal.
The rest of the road will be crack sealed. That particular spot will be a remover place.
Okay. Any other questions or comments, Darren? Appreciate you working on this.
Okay. Just want to mention a couple of things real quick.
Okay.
Number one, they're getting started out at the lake on the RV water line. So we'll have that up and running by the time we start seeing RVs. They're boring the vast majority of that, and we've kind of reworked stuff that still falls within KDHE, but it's going to be beneficial and give the most flexibility to the lake supervisor to be able to shut stuff on and off seasonally. So so we've worked with Charlie from Ditch Diggers and gonna get the best thing for you guys long term on your side of the system out there. So, and that they've started the project a little bit last week, and they've stopped boring here maybe this week. So, and then one other thing I wanted to ask about, and now this is not just my professional capacity, but now this is me kind of as a taxpayer too from the county. I know I've seen that you have the listing out there for hiring an actual professional engineer for a county position. I guess my question to you would be, what are your long-term goals with that position and function? Do you have a set of long-term goals you're kind of foreseeing with that position?
I'm looking at it to be a long-term position for somebody to come and take over the road and bridge department, basically, as far as the road building and structure, everything that's involved in that description, long-term.
Have you seen the description?
I saw the description.
A lot of those goals are part of the job description.
Okay. One of the things I was kind of curious about is, and I haven't heard it from here, so that's why I'm kind of asking the question, is there any intent for that position to eliminate what you right now farm out to consultants or hire out to consulting? In other words, is the goal to save money in that regard? Or,
Personally,
I
I'm
mean, what are you
thinking that
planning
would
on
be-
that person to
yeah.
do in-house that might,
I'm hoping that that
Sure.
would be included wherever possible, yes.
okay.
Like the 330th job, I would have thought that would have fallen under the county engineer.
Okay, I thought that was kind of your answer, so I just want to now say a little bit more about that. We work with a lot of cities and counties that it doesn't seem when you get into the smaller rural cities and counties that position can really take care of everything on your needs. I'm not saying you can't, what we see a lot of times is if there is a professional engineer somewhere in that chain on the local government side, they handle a lot of the planning function and can do a lot of that part, but as soon as, if you ever start getting into the design piece, some of the other cost factors you're gonna have to know that are gonna have to exist, you still have to have a survey crew. So, I don't think the county necessarily wants to get into having their own survey crews and equipment, because that can get kind of costly. I could be wrong, but I mean, and then also, if you want to start designing stuff in-house, you gotta think about having drafting support for that engineer too. And so, and then if you're gonna go to that length, do you do all the inspections yourself, or do you still hire those out? So as you start thinking about those things, I'm not saying that a professional licensed engineer is a bad thing to have on staff. I'm just saying I think there's still gonna be a line where you're still gonna have to hire a lot of stuff out. So as you start thinking about that cost savings, where that cost savings breakover is, and that's why I say I'm approaching it from a taxpayer standpoint too, just trying to pass on some of the things we see as we work with so many different entities from the professional side. We've had a lot of people look at this same issue, and as soon as you start digging into some of that design side stuff, you're going, wow, the cost of having 2 or 3 more people on staff and the equipment and everything else. It just kind of depends, if you're a county that's doing a several $1 million job every year on a bridge, or, all that other stuff. It's the same as like, when you hire out your bridge inspections annually. Yes, that same in-house person could do all those, but then you're probably going to spend so much time doing that you're not taking away from some of the things you hired them to do. So unless you hire one more person to be in-house to do just those. So that's, as you review those here in the future, I think that, that's just something you got to kind of keep in mind is it's not just that one person's salary that you might be looking at. There's going to be a lot of other support people depending on what level you want to provide in-house versus still hiring it out.
I think when we were building that job description, we realized there's still gonna be time.
Yeah.
Where you're gonna have professional engineers
In the planning function, I think is great to have in-house. I mean, if you can have that in-house, I think that's where you really see some benefit, is the planning side of things. So, all right.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Sharon.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate that.
Okay. Commission discussion, road route. Diane, put that on the agenda.
I did. I put that on the agenda because I've been working on that for quite some time. And I finally got some information back from KDOT. I did contact KDOT a while back because at one of the meetings that we had here not too long ago, when we had the Harshevans here, their man, I can't remember his name right off the hand, yes, Frank, had said that about getting the rock tested, there's a cost. Well, there's not a cost. KDOT does do testing at no cost. So I do have a letter here that I got back from Shad, who is in our district from Salina, who comes and does stuff like that. But in the meantime, what I'm thinking and the direction I'm going to the commission is, with the problems that we have on our roads, and what everybody that was here before said is correct, there's a lot of pieces to it. The crowns, the ditches, the whole so-and-so. But one of the pieces is the quality rock that we're buying. So, having said that, that's why I went on, after I learned a little bit about the different qualities of rock and what you test for and different things like that. It's my opinion and my thought that the county, and I had asked Jesse here a couple of weeks back, does he have a standard for the rock that he buys? And he said no, he hasn't gotten to that point yet. But I did, and I think the standard that we need to adopt is KDOT approved material only. I will tell you here, this is what the letter says that I received from a Mr. Shad Lohan from KDOT, and he said that he is writing in reference to my inquiry of rock produced at the Harshman Quarry at Florence. The rock is produced from 3 distinct ledges. We have looked at the past quality testing back many years, and the material seems consistent enough that taking another test sample will probably only show what we already know. The testing was of each ledge by itself, and then the combination of ledges. Below are pictures of the combination of Harshman is producing at this time. Picture number 1 is what we call state material. It meets all the department's requirements for quality for base rock, but it requires additional processing and does not include the Florence ledge. Picture 2 is commercial material and is produced using all 3 ledges. This material does not meet the department's requirements for quality. These are the pictures that was attached to the email. So I have talked to Warren. I mean, they are well aware. I invited them to come to the meeting and told them exactly what I was going to be discussing. And he agrees 100%. The better quality rock is the way to go, of course. It does not, quite frankly, cost much more than what we're already paying. We're paying between $8 and $9 a ton for rock that melts. And we can get the KDOT approved material for anywhere between $10, $11, $12, $13 a ton, depending the size, the variation of sizes. Okay, so now the thing that I also learned was a lot of times quarries, all quarries, will take, and he does allude to it here a little bit, they will blend the different ledges, so you get some approved and some not approved, and so you're getting a mixed bag. So what I had asked KDOT if we would be able to do, if they would periodically throughout the year, just come to our roads when we put down rocks, scoop up a bucket, take it and test it. And that is what they call a verification test. And yes, they do that at no charge, and they're happy to do that for us. So therefore, they will come and nobody will get notice. There will be no notification that we're going to come and test, because the moral of the story is, when I talked to Harshman and when I did talk to Ham, I did talk to APAC, I have 2 other ones in, I said, if we specify to you, if the commission specifies we want to buy this quality, and we're going to be paying for that quality, then I darn well expect that quality to be on that road when that test comes back. And every one of them said, absolutely, they would do that. And of course, that would be a way for us to make sure, first off, that we're getting what we're paying for, and number 2, that we take one piece of our road problem and take it up a couple notches to get better quality rock, that maybe we don't have to rock the same road every 2 or 3 months, is my hope. You gotta start somewhere. And so that's what I wanted the commission to, what I wanted to present to the commission, what I found out, what I've learned, what I strongly suggest that we do. It is a start. Said at least up to this point, I can't say anybody did anything wrong, because nobody had a standard. We had no expectations from anybody. So up to this point, everybody did what they wanted to do, or did what they, sell their product. And I find that, business. But I think we really do, as a county, need to set these standards.
Is there number 2 out of there, state qualified, you said?
Yeah, well, there's 2 pictures. They have 2 pictures here. They're showing one picture is state
Base rock.
tested and qualified, and one is not. This one is not. I think this one is. And these meet the wear test and the freeze thaw. And the gradation also is important. But those are the 2 main things that we need to really watch, is the wear and the thaw freeze. So I'm actually asking the commission to set a standard and say that we want this quality rock on our roads. Like I said, actually we can't afford to continue to buy the cheap stuff anymore. It's costing us way too much. And I think we will really be dollars ahead by upping up the quality on rock, because there's so much involved in rock. And if you'd like this, I'll pass this down to you. go ahead, if you'd like that. If you'd like one.
I just wondered if that number 2 is supposed to be.
Well, picture number 2 is what he's saying. Picture number 2.
Picture number 2, not this.
No, he's not
Okay.
saying
Okay.
rock quality, yeah. Mhm. So I would highly suggest that we start by getting a better quality rock. And every one of the quarries have that rock, so it's not something that they have to prepare for, they have it.
You wanna make that a policy?
I think we should, I think we need to. You would agree, am I right? Best quality rock,
That's probably a good start.
okay? Sir, you agree? I think we have their seal of approval. Okay, so
You wanna make a motion then that we adopt that as policy for road and bridge?
I sure will. I will make a motion that we, as a county, Marion County, only buy KDOT approved material for our roads, for our rock roads.
And,
Discussion?
yeah, past administrators of that road bridge, that was where we was at all the time. I don't know where we was, why we wasn't getting this. We've always asked for that, so that sort of puzzled me why we weren't getting it.
I think by keeping everybody on alert that we will be following up with these verification tests, I think that'll help enforce it a little bit, maybe.
That's why it's probably good to make it part of policy, road and bridge policy.
Now, is this gonna be all the rock we buy?
Yeah.
What
Well,
about
well,
your
no, wait.
base rock and stuff that's your metal rock and stuff
Well-
So
like
as
that?
I say, if we're gonna just smash it in the mud,
Yeah.
Wait, we had discussed that too. There is a place, like for big holes and repairs, that
Right.
you could buy the cheaper stuff, yes.
right,
But I'm talking about, base,
top coat.
that and base. Yeah, the 1.25 inch, 1.5 inch. What do you use that for?
Won't you use 2-inch on base?
Depends on how big the mud hole is.
Okay, I guess I'm confused because
What I'm saying
talking about
is,
a mud hole.
if we got, you've probably seen a lot of these hills that are squashed out because of water seepage and everything else. I mean, you don't wanna, we probably put some 3-inch in there. And that, we're trying to get that packed in, and then we'll go over later with a smaller rock to top coat if it settles.
So I think what
Are we
we're
gonna
saying
try
is
and
we're
put that-
talking about KDOT approved top coat.
Okay,
Well,
well, that's what I'm asking is,
I did not specify top coat or otherwise. I'm just saying, and I just cannot think why we would wanna, even on that, if you're building, even if the road is that bad, you're talking about a hole, you say mud
Well,
hole. Are you talking about a hole or are you talking
when you
about
got
the road?
ruts in the road like this, and you're gonna
Okay.
put rock in, it's gonna squash in.
Okay,
Are you
got
gonna
it.
put that expensive rock down first?
Yeah, I'd like to have a good base. I would say yes. And when you say expensive, it's not that much more money. Because that base is what holds the whole road, I think. So yeah, I would say yeah.
If you don't go with a good base, you have nothing.
Well,
Right.
I would say yes
Right.
to your
It's a waste
question.
of money.
But the tests are for abrasives and stuff like that, is that correct?
The tests are to make sure that they meet KDOT standards as far as wear.
And what was some of you said abrasion and something else?
No, I said freeze, thaw, and wear, and then there's also
Okay.
gradation. And that's just the amount of screenings and fines that are mixed in with the top. That would be the
Okay.
smaller rock,
Right.
yeah. To
Well,
make
that's why I
sure
didn't know if the stuff's getting smashed in, if we needed that
No,
abrasives
No,
or
no.
nothing like that, because there ain't gonna be nothing driving or grading on it if it's smashed in.
right, no, that's different. But still meeting KDOT standards for what you're using it for.
Okay.
But doesn't that base rock, once it gets smashed in, it probably still deteriorates too? I mean,
Well, if it's the cheap stuff, yes.
there's times.
It would deteriorate too, but ultimately, probably, depending, several factors go into that. That's what's driving on it. If you're gonna have a lot of heavy trucks, cattle pods and hay trucks and semis and so on, naturally it's gonna smash it down faster, but it's not gonna deteriorate as fast as the cheap stuff will. So it will still be a financial gain to the county to do that. provide a better grade.
So what we're talking about is all rock.
That's what I'm talking about, yes. You get a mix of the good rock and a mix of the bad rocks, and we're doing the same thing the quarries do, is mixing the good with the bad, and what are we gaining? So yeah, so that's my notion, all rock.
So then do we contact the quarries that we purchase from, that we've gone to that, and that we've made policy?
And yeah, and I have already talked to Warren, and I've talked to Harshman, and I called APAC, and I think there's still another one, and then, yeah,
Hey,
Woodbine. And also, when Woodbine, as far as Woodbines, I noticed sometimes we were buying from the Harrington quarry, and we don't want to do that. I don't think they have any KDOT approved there. It has to come from Woodbine. Is where they're, all theirs is stated is approved at Woodbine. Just throw that in. But anyway, okay. So yeah.
so do we want to make a motion to do that, and then specify the quarries too, as to the quarries that we purchase from?
All quarries, wherever we purchase it. Yeah.
All.
I think you could, if you're gonna start dealing with a new quarry, you could have a sheet prepared that says
This is our policy.
And, yeah.
Okay.
So you did a motion.
I did a motion.
Motion's been made to approve all KDOT material that goes on our roads. And I'll second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So do you want the county to prepare some sort of a memo or
I
something?
think we need
for
a
the quarries?
memo to policy or some kind of documentation to that.
Okay, we can do that, and then that way we can notify the quarries.
And do we need to put in that about verification tests will be made, or do we not really want to do that? I mean, I told them, they know it. But I mean, if we prepare a
It
memo,
wouldn't hurt to be in as part of the policy,
that,
that verification.
and that does
Spot
kind of just
verification.
put them on notice, you know. But, okay, that's all I have.
Signature line on there.
I beg your pardon?
You're gonna have a signature line on there,
On where?
on the note saying that it will be checked, so that way you have documentation that they're fully aware.
Oh. That's, Tina. I think he was asking you.
We can do that.
From KDOT, you mean?
No.
From your quarries, where that they sign off.
Yeah, we'll need to notice them.
Otherwise,
And
they'll
they
just be like,
notice-
well, I never seen that.
Yeah, we'll need to notice them and get their signature. Clear on all that, Tina?
Yep. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Moving on. Health insurance.
Has everyone that's in the meeting printed their name on the tub?
Okay. Tina sent out some additional information in regard to the employees' health insurance for us to review. Back to that. Is there anything you wanted to review on that chart that you sent out, Tina?
I can review anything you would like me to. Let me pull that up. What I tried to provide was just a little bit of comparison between the plans and what we currently have and the ones that are proposed, and just some general statements. One thing on the colored page on the front, the fourth statement down in just the statements where I was saying the co-insurance, it says the orange column shows Aetna's option 2, which is higher deductible than our current option 3. Co-insurance, it should say 70/30 instead of 30/70.
Okay.
So the company pays 70. That's just a typo there. So you guys reviewed several different things, and there are even more options that both companies can and have presented. It's just a matter of if you want to see anything else. Sally sent some different rates than what she presented in the meeting. And so that's referenced in here with the corrected rates that she sent. Did you have a chance to read the points or the information? So the first page is just some comparisons. It shows that the closest plan that Aetna brought, that they labeled option 1, most closely resembles the Blue Cross option 2 that we currently have, but with a change to the drug card. And so that's what you see in the two light gray columns here. I've tried to show you the premium comparison. Like Sally said, they're not the same plans. Every plan is different. So their option 2 is a $2,000 deductible, $4,000. But so the Aetna plan is a thing to keep in mind. They're presenting higher deductibles, but their maximum out of pocket is generally lower or the same as what we have now. Then there were several different high deductible health savings account plans that were presented that you could add if you wanted to as an option 4 on either carrier. So is it helpful if I just go through the points on the front, and then if that generates questions you can ask, or? Okay, so I already talked to you about the rates change for Aetna, so they sent some lower rates than what they presented in the meeting. And I talked to you about showing the closest comparison possible between the plans. The light green on your sheet shows the current plan design, and then the rates. I'll read off my paper and then I can let you see the numbers up at the top. Okay, so the light green columns on the left show the current plan design. So this is our current premiums and plan design and our renewal. And we know that it was a 6.2% increase basically for our renewal. If you don't make any changes to the plan. And then the next column over is exactly the same plan except changing from our current drug card to a 5-tier drug card, which is typically what you're going to see with any other company or plan that we've been looking at. And so those are less expensive than the renewal that they presented as far as if you keep it the same. Some of our employees would be impacted by that. I don't know which ones, but it would be a change on how we're doing our prescription drugs.
And those are broke out on there, the 15, 50, 75.
Right, so right now we're at $15, $30, and $45. Those are our
Right.
co-pays for drugs. So if you change the drug card, so right now we offer a $500 deductible, $1,000 or $1,500. And it's 80/20 co-insurance, and then for a single person they would pay up to $2,500 co-insurance, and then so their maximum out of pocket, including any doctor visit copays or prescription copays or anything for the year, is $5,000. Our office visit copay is $35. If you change to this first alternate with Blue Cross Blue Shield, you're just changing the drug card
Right.
only. And so it would go from 15, 30, 45 to 15, 50, 75, 150, and then 20%.
And didn't
to
they say
250.
on those, you can only get a 30-day prescription?
Yes. I think right now you can get 34 days.
Oh, I thought some of those were 90.
In the mail, maybe.
Yeah, through the mail. But he specifically said in the meeting, though, that that's a change from 34 to 30, I believe. You can still probably do mail order and do the longer prescription times with that. You're just changing the structure of
Right.
what the preferred drugs are. So the next column shows that Aetna, their first option. The thing about Aetna, these plans are not the same. So they're presenting, instead, like on Blue Cross Blue Shield, you have one plan and 3 options within that single plan. So all the plans are the same, you're just changing the deductibles, basically. The way that Aetna is done, they can mix and match different plans. And so they've shown you option 1, which is $1,000 deductible, and Sally showed you that information that a lot of places are increasing their deductibles. Most places aren't offering a $500 anymore. She did follow up after the meeting and set a $500 deductible plan, but it was very expensive. It was not competitive at all with what we've been looking at. And she knew it wasn't going to be. So anyway, this is $1,000 deductible, 80/20 coinsurance up to $2,500. So that's the same. And then their prescription drugs here are 10, 35, 60, 20% to $150 and 20% to $250. And the doctor visit copays, instead of $35, regardless of what type of doctor, it is $25 for your regular doctor and $50 for specialists. The emergency room copay is also higher on Aetna. I didn't put all of those on here because there's only so much room, but their maximum out of pocket at the bottom, you'll notice, is $3,500 for a single, where on our current plan and on the Blue Cross plan proposed, if we change the drug card, the maximum out of pocket is $5,000. So then Aetna presented an option 2, which is a $2,000 deductible for a single, and the same drug card as the previous one. This is a 70% coinsurance up to $2,000. So what that means is, instead of the insurance company paying the 80% up until that out of pocket, the consumer, the employee would pay, the company would only pay 70%. So the employee is paying a higher portion of that coinsurance amount. And then you go to a 30/60 office visit copay. So overall, your maximum out of pocket is less than what we have right now, but the employee is going to experience paying maybe potentially a higher cost up front because that coinsurance amount is changing. And then when you go to option 3, it's 50/50 on the coinsurance. So you bumped the deductible to $2,500 and $5,000 for a family. It's 50/50 coinsurance. And then same drug card, same office visit copay, and then the out of pocket there, $5,000, $10,000. That matches what we have today with Blue Cross. So just showing you the differences on those things. And then I don't know how interested you are in adding a high deductible health plan with a health savings account. I can go through that information with you if you'd like, but that's it will require some administrative changes to do that, and that's not a problem, but it might be something that we might want to consider adding next year, or we could add it this year and see if anybody wants to sign up for it.
So if we went to a change on a drug card, some of these folks that are on cancer drug or something like that, they could be paying $250. Is that right? 20%.
They would pay 20% up to $250. Yes, so they could pay up to $250. I don't know that when Bruce ran the report, I don't believe that any of our employees were on that.
That would be
that
considered
tier.
specialty drugs, I guess.
Right, at this point, he said that we didn't have anybody affected by that top
Okay.
tier at the moment. Doesn't mean that.
Yeah, you never know.
Right, so. What other things were of interest here? That's.
And if I heard Bruce right on changing a drug card, it wouldn't affect your ability to use your local pharmacy.
No.
Yeah.
So Aetna does offer a variety of plans. You can mix and match the plans. So it offers a kind of a richer plan, which is their option 1, which is similar to what we're going to get through Blue Cross if we renew with them. But then it also kind of offers some more consumer-driven type plans that you can mix and match, where with Blue Cross you have one plan and that's it. I did note that if the majority of the employees switched to option 1 of Aetna, if we did change to Aetna, their rates for their option 1 are higher than our Blue Cross rates for option 2, which is the same deductible and the most similar plan. So I did some costing on that, because if you have a whole big shift of a bunch of employees switching to that, I was concerned that it might impact the budget more. And so we can look at that. it didn't seem to increase it all that much, depending on how much the employees contribute. That's all gonna really depend on what level of contribution that you're gonna require. One thing that Sally mentioned is that some of the apps that Aetna has, it can help the employees to be more mindful of the expenses. It helps them to be able to be more consumer driven, and they can choose where to get their care based on knowing what the costs of the care are. One other thing is that Sally does get a commission through Aetna, and so any consulting services, if we would want to utilize any of those services, that would be covered through that premium instead of an extra cost. If we decide to stay with Blue Cross, we could still do consulting through her. It would be a $20,000 a year cost for consulting. Some of the benefits would be worthwhile, and a lot of it, we're able to handle most of that on our own. So I would say if you do stay with Blue Cross, we wouldn't necessarily need to do the consulting unless that's something the board wants to do. Our renewal, compared to some that we've had in the past, was not a large increase. Budgeted funds would cover any of the plans that you choose, whether it's Aetna or Blue Cross. We did budget to be able to cover that. I did talk a little bit about office visit copays already. They're different between the companies, and they're different between the plans within the Aetna plans. And when I prepared costing information, what you had done the last time was you had employees pay 10% of the single plan on option 1, and then, on option 2, and then if they wanted option 1, they paid the difference. And so when I prepared the costing scenarios, I used those same percentages with the new renewal rates. Does that make sense? So I put 10% of the single plan as the contribution level. And something that Sally followed up after the meeting that I just put on the notes here is that 53% of the members in our group had claims under $1,000 in the last 3 years, and 14% had no claims at all. So we're offering the insurance. Some people are using it heavily, some people are not. So, and she did note there's another plan through Aetna that can be offered, which is a Wesley specific network or Wesley preferred network via Christie doctors, and facilities are not allowed in that network. You did look at that last year, and that was something at the time that the board wasn't interested in doing. It is available if you want to add it as an option, but it should not be the only option. One thing I did put is if the county keeps the same contribution levels between the options like we have now, with employees contributing the 10%, and then switches to higher deductible options or higher out-of-pocket 70-30, for instance, co-insurance, it really depends on the specific employee and their health and their services that they're utilizing on how much of an impact it's going to have. But it could potentially have it'll have an impact. So.
Do you recall last year in our budgetary process how much of an increase we were anticipating? You said we had budgeted.
Let me show you what we budgeted. So on the costing, or this is just a summary. I listed it out in columns this way, but then I also listed it out down on this one so that it's the same basic information, just so that some people might read it a little bit differently. But we budgeted, I didn't grab what the percent was, but we did budget $885,000 this year for health insurance, and that's an increase of I think we budgeted 845 or 835 last year. I can go find that specific percentage if
I'm
you
just
want.
trying
But when you,
reason what was driving it, other than we know that it goes up every year.
yeah, we try to include a percent when we're figuring our estimates. I don't recall what the specific percent was that we used this year, but I can get that. But what I did on these is if you have our current information, so I took what our total premium is and the total employee contributions, and I annualized that And so, as of right now, the current plan is $794,654. And obviously, that's a precise number, but this is an estimate. It's not necessarily exactly that because we fluctuate from month to month a little bit. But based on the plan participation today. And so the budget is $885,000, and we're at about $795,000. With the renewal on the same plan, it goes to $834,000, and which is also well within the $885,000 at the same contribution levels. And then the one with the change in the drug plan, that saves about another $18,000 a year, based on the current contribution levels of employees and counties staying the same. And then on the Aetna, we don't really know what plans everyone would go to, and there might be some changes between plans if you stay with Blue Cross as well. I mean, there always are people that change plans at open enrollment. But on the, again, I have the current listed at the top. There, the scenario one that was presented, assuming that everybody stays on the same plans, even though you would potentially be increasing the deductibles and co-insurance. It shows almost a level renewal if everybody stays where they are. But we know that that's unlikely. Most people, if you're going to change carriers or change plans, they could potentially move to a different deductible. And I wanted to figure it based on if a big majority of them jump to the higher premium, because that could very well happen. And so that's what I've done on scenario 2. I've left a few people in some of the lower contracts, but I put the majority in option 1, which is similar to what our option 2 is today. And that it's $821,000 based on this costing on this scenario, which is well within our budget. And it's not as large of an impact as it potentially could have been there. So,
Okay, are you done?
unless someone has questions.
I don't have any questions. I do have some other things to present. I was looking at this and I read every one of your points here and everything. And I made up, of course, my own chart, as I do, and I like to just look at it at a glance. And so I did go with the new plans, and I don't know that you two got them, because I asked at the meeting on Wednesday if we could contact her, and she said yes. So I did get a copy of those 2 plans that Tina was talking about here. And so I used those 2 plans to bring something out, and this is my crazy little sheet that I made up just so you had something to look at, since you didn't see them. But what I was looking at the bottom, and I realized that the price differences will depend upon how many employees take which plan. You know, the prices always change depending on which plan. But just based on some information here, the bottom line is, and again, bear in mind that depending on how many employees take what plan. And you'll notice what I did was I didn't use the current on anything because the current is going away. I used the renewal on everything because that's real life, that's where we're going. And so I compared, like on the very first one, the $1,000 Blue Cross to the $1,000 on Aetna. And you'll notice, yes, that premium is higher. Currently on Blue Cross, it is for an employee, and this is just, I took the employee price, it's $34 higher for the employee on that plan, rather than Blue Cross. And then at the bottom, you see the purple one again. I used the Blue Cross on the $1,500 deductible up to the $3,000 deductible. Now that plan is less because it costs the employee $28.72 less. It costs the family plan $63.81 less. And if you go out into even a higher deductible, which we don't have offered by Blue Cross, but they do, again, then you have the employee, it's an $89.54 a month premium less.
Excuse me, do you mind if I make a copy of that so I can follow along?
Certainly.
Thank you.
You can have that one back.
Do you have another copy?
Yeah, I do. And then I have some that aren't marked, but and the reason I have these that aren't marked, But this is just, I'm just showing the difference, pointing out to me, when I studied this, what was important to me, because I understand all the plans are different, and some pays this and some pays that, and you should really get yourself wrapped up in that. But I'm looking at the bottom line, I'm looking at the numbers. So if we do have somebody who would want to take a higher deductible, a $2,500 deductible, or $5,000 or something, then that reduces, and I am using again the figure here, the employee out of pocket, the premium each month. Blue Cross and Blue Shield is at $688, whereas the Aetna is $598, which is almost $100 a month less for the employee, and $201 for the family. The interesting thing on this plan right here is, with the Blue Cross and Blue Shield increase, again, depending which plan they use, you're looking at a cost increase to the county of about $58,000. If you go with this Aetna plan and give these different options to the employees, you're looking at a flat rate. There would be no increase. So that is a $58,000 increase. I'm sorry, a $58,000 savings. And like Tina pointed out, on the various plans, I will also point out too, like she said, on the out-of-pocket. To me, that's important, out-of-pocket, because that eats you up. So on the one Aetna plan right now versus Blue Cross, the out-of-pocket is $5,000 on the Blue Cross plan of $1,000. Whereas on the Aetna plan for the single individual, it's $3,500. So that's immediately a
One thing to mention about that,
plan is less.
One thing to mention about that, so you all understand what it means. On the maximum out-of-pocket, that is a number that most people are not potentially going to reach. Your co-insurance, it's possible that someone might reach it.
Yes, it is.
So the way that works is you have your office visit copays, your prescription copays, those amounts that everybody pays out of pocket, they do add in to potentially reach your maximum out of pocket.
Right.
The deductible and co-insurance is the initial expense that the employee is going to experience. So their deductible and then whatever percentage of co-insurance up to whatever that maximum is, that's where most employees are going to experience the most out-of-pocket expense. The only thing from that point that ever adds to your maximum out-of-pocket are those copays. So your doctor visit copays, your prescription copays. And it's my understanding that once you would reach that maximum out-of-pocket, then those charges go away.
Yeah, that's correct. I don't dispute, but the one that I was talking about here as an example for the $1,000 deductible, and then the maximum out-of-pocket of $3,500, that is apples to apples with Blue Cross at a 20% co-insurance.
Right.
Same way with Aetna. So that was a very comparable thing. So that's just on their plan, that plan right there. So in that particular case right there, and this is any doctor or hospital that you want to do, I think it's the same as Blue Cross and Blue Shield, but you do see that there's a considerable less total bottom line. Now, even if we use the $58,000 increase that we will receive from Blue Cross and Blue Shield, the next step I think for the county would be to come back and just see with that type of a savings for, if we take Aetna over Blue Cross with that $58,000, we have several options. Do we want to then reduce how much the employee pays for that premium, because we would have a little wiggle room there? Or do we want to keep it the same and have the $58,000 savings to the county, because we also have a pay plan to think about coming up here pretty soon too. So that's it. That's quite a savings. And then the next thing I also will bring up is another one of my wonderful charts, because Tina did mention about the Wesley plan, and that is an awesome plan. And I know there's a catch. I'll get to again on that. But if you look at those premiums and those options, I mean, they are like, wow. So if you go to they do have the $500 deductible on this plan, and that in and of itself isn't more expensive. The employee would be $25 more a month, but that's a $500 deductible and a $1,500 out of pocket. So, I mean, to me, wow. that is really good. The family would be a $59 a month increase in their premium. But again, the same thing, $500, I'm sorry, that would be $1,000 copay with a $3,000 out of pocket for the family. So then as you go on to the other plans, go on to the other plans, still comparing to Blue Cross and Blue Shield, you get down to the point, if you go over, and employees with these options, I would assume, you would have all over the board, because nobody would know what the employees want. But you're getting these, right now with Blue Cross and Blue Shield, at the renewal, you are looking, well, between $705 to the employee to $688. Let's just say $700. Okay, but on the Aetna, you have the potential to take that same premium down to $541 or $594 or $664. Now, and all of the out-of-pockets are considerably less than Blue Cross and Blue Shield. One other thing I will say, as I was reading the actual book on Aetna and Blue Cross, Aetna doesn't charge, you have all kinds of free stuff too, like routine exams are covered 100%, immunizations are covered 100%, up to 20 some years old, different things like that. I mean, they have a lot of things 100% covered, women's health, men's health care is all 100%. A lot of that's also
ACA
in Blue Cross and Blue
Right.
Shield
Exactly.
as well. But some of those deductibles and those office visits are waived, like with the children, you don't even have an office copay. Now, having said that, the bottom line to the county is, if you took the Wesley plan, that would be $51,000 less than what we're paying now. So, with the $58,000 increase on Blue Cross and Blue Shield, and the negative $51,000 on Aetna, that's a potential savings of $109,000 to the county by going to this plan. And again, depending what, and I think it would be worthwhile to push the pencil just to kind of narrow that down a little bit, but with that type of financial difference to the county, I think we need to look at it a little closer.
Even Sally, though, said that she would not recommend putting that Wesley only option in as our only plan.
Well, that's fine, that's fine.
So if you
also
include it,
believe-
if you want to include that as one option, that's something that you can do, but.
And she also said it's the one she uses. Now, I did make, because it concerned me a little bit about the Wesley, and I went through to see what all that didn't include, and of course it does not include Kansas Heart, and it doesn't include Kansas Joint, and it doesn't include, there's another hospital.
Here you go. I have it right here.
Medical Center.
Okay, so, yes.
Here's the
okay.
excluded
I'm sorry.
providers.
Right, here you go.
Yeah.
Now, I was
All of Via Christi.
right. Well, now, the thing about it is, this is what concerned me, and I called a couple medical places and stuff to find out the big deal, and I use myself as an example. So, if I had a heart, if I was an employee that had a heart problem, then I probably already had a cardiologist, and if he's at Wesley, then I couldn't use him. That would be a downfall. But, since I don't have a heart problem, I don't have a cardiologist, if I have a heart attack tomorrow, what do I care if I go to Wesley Heart? It doesn't matter because I haven't established anybody yet, so I would not be impacting anybody in that regard. I did look through the claims that we had. I maybe have overlooked something, I don't know, but as I'm not going to say, but I don't think we have anybody currently in that position. That is an actual heart patient or anything like that. One other thing I would like to confer with Sally is, I think on Blue Cross, on the diabetic insulins and things like that, the diabetic medicines, diabetes is something that's just growing by leaps and bounds, and every place, every county has them, including us. I think in Blue Cross and Blue Shield, the medicine for diabetes is going to take a whopping jump, if I'm not mistaken, but I would like to confirm that a little bit, but I think I'm correct. But anyway, the bottom line is, and I did this graph like this because for me, I can just kind of look at it and compare the price, and the bottom line is the bottom line, because, you know, that's huge, $100,000 difference, and like Tina said, you can change these around to suit your needs and stuff, so nobody's gonna really be out of medical care. That's
The
none
thing
of
about
these, none
that
of
though
these.
too to consider, and I'm sure everyone understands this, that if you're only offering a Wesley specific as one of the options, you're not going to see $100,000 reduction in premium, because the way that that's shown, it's if that's all we
If
offered.
we moved everybody to
Right.
it.
Okay, so and like you said, you can mix and match a lot. So I guess my thought right now would be, if we're not willing or ready to go, even if we went just with the regular Aetna and keep it flat and not having, that's 58 grand, give or take, depending on how they, but that's a savings. That now, we just sat here with Bud, and, you know, we're cutting down everywhere we can, in tools for our employees and things like that. And again, like I said, we're looking at pay plan coming up as well. Now, wouldn't it be awesome for the employees to have a reduction or whatever in their insurance and they get a,
So
What-
what you're
but-
saying is maybe if you went with Aetna, because of the lower cost, you would allow the employees to pay less than what they're paying today?
I'm saying that's an option. I certainly am. Because if it's a zero, if we're not increasing the taxpayer dollar, then if you want to work with the employees, and if that's available, that type of money is there, the difference, why not?
Okay, well, I'm just
I mean, I'm
asking
just
because
asking,
if
why
you.
not?
Because of the way that the costing is shown, that's with the same contribution rate we are now. So when I did that costing on Aetna, for instance, if the majority moved to the option 2, which is, you know, or their option 1, then that's a flat renewal. If you change the employees' contribution levels, reduce them, then that would cost the county a little bit more, so it wouldn't be.
Right,
you know.
but it would cost the county a little bit more, but we would still not be above 51,000. I mean, it would still be a flat. It wouldn't be any increase out of pocket to the county, like it is with Blue Cross.
It would potentially be if you reduce the employees' contribution, which I think the employees would appreciate having their contributions reduced, especially if you're changing to a less rich benefit structure.
If the employees love their policy, would they be interested in contributing a little more? I don't know.
Well, the way
Yes.
that I figured the costing is based on percent.
Right.
So because our premiums
Right.
are going up, there would be an increase to the employees.
Right, if we stayed it to 10%.
Right.
I'm talking about if we moved the percentage to 10% or 12% or 15%.
I think that the majority of your employees are struggling with
I
even
know.
paying what they're paying now
I know.
today, so.
And so, there you go, why would we not then take the lesser cost plan to help employees? I mean, I can understand the employees being upset if we were really taking a valid service away from them or really causing them despair. But one plan to the other, one company to the other is not doing that. I mean, it's just not. So, yeah.
Yep, and I just gave you the information.
I understand it, and I appreciate that, you did well, I'm just looking at the bottom dollar. And again, trying to work with the employees to give them the best bang for their buck and not break the bank for the taxpayer.
Right, that's what I told Sally that we needed to look at, was every option that would, we need to offer the employees at least as good a coverage of what they have, if not better, and no more.
It would just be, if we
cost.
moved companies, it would be a matter of trying to develop a comfort level. Because
Right.
everybody's become accustomed to their Blue Cross and Blue Shield policy.
Right.
Yeah.
And on here, I didn't mention, but Sally did say that it made sense to stay with Blue Cross for dental. I assume that that's where the board is with that. Because we can keep dental even if you choose not to keep health. So, and our dental plan is very, very good.
Yeah, I don't care about that. Well, I'm looking at the big bucks.
I just would say that going into this, that I've had probably 8 to 10% of the employees say that they like their insurance and they would even be willing to pay some more. They're not happy with that, but that's, I haven't heard that from 100% of the employees, but probably 8 to 10%, probably somewhere in there.
No, that's fine, I
10 to 12 people.
understand that.
Somewhere in there.
And it's hard to say, employee, you need to divvy up a little bit more, even though, you know, looking at the national statistics, we're somewhat lower than most on that employee contribution side.
And so I have to say one final thing, and then I'm going to be done with it, and that is, I understand everybody wants an insurance increase. But you show me somebody in this room that this year their insurance is not gonna go up. It is gonna go up. And the bottom line is, all through my life, as I worked for companies that provided insurance, first off, I never had the option to go in there to my employer and say, I don't want that, I want this. I took what they offered and made my choice, and I was thankful. We have to look at, and like you said, Randy, not all of them are gonna do that. But I'm saying here, if we have a plan, which is a good plan, and the employees, and I said it last year too, say, no, I want my Blue Cross. Okay, there's $58,000. You want it, I say, they need to pay that, because they have another option. And it would be beneficial to the county to take the lesser option. And there's a lot of options in that to save the county money. I mean, that's the choices I always had. In fact, a lot of times I had to take it or leave it. And that was the options that we had back in the old days a lot of times. So, I'm done.
I just want to make sure that we give the employees a plan that is at least equally as good as what they've had in the past, and if we can save money, that's great.
I think Sally made sure of that, because that's what Tina asked her to do, and I think that's what was presented, yes.
I mean, we know the history of handling claims and that sort of thing, just because we've had Blue Cross Blue Shield so long. I have no experience with Aetna. Maybe some of the people have, I don't know.
Go to your local county drugs. I didn't check with Hillsborough, but I did with the other two. They have some concerns.
About Aetna's
Yes.
drug card?
Yes.
They didn't have any concerns when I talked to them, but that's, like I said, neither here nor there, but.
Well, we need to make a decision on this by no later than Friday. So,
And even if you would, if you need to consider the employee contribution piece separately, we need to at least decide the carrier and the options that you want to offer. So,
I'd make a motion to stay with the same percent, staying with Blue Cross, if the employee paying the same percent.
with the same renewal?
Same
Or with
renewal.
what about, or you're not talking about with the change to drug card, just the straight across renewal?
Straight across renewal.
And you stated that budgetary wise, you were covered on that. Of course, it's still a pretty large increase.
$58,000
Yeah.
more, without even considering the ins and outs of the other plan.
Right.
so you have a motion.
Motion's on the table. Dies for the lack of second. I'll make a motion that we go with Blue Cross and Blue Shield with the change to the drug card. Alternate number 1. What's that?
Is that the end of your motion?
Yes. Option, that'd be Blue Cross and Blue Shield, alternative number 1.
Okay. Second.
Okay? It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye.
Okay, passes 2-1. Okay, that's the end of our formal agenda. Public comments.
There will be, I think.
I was, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I just want to say, I want to commend Diane for working on this rock. I just have to say that it concerns me that we have been putting this rock down for how many years with no one knowing what quality of rock we have. you stated that's what we should have been having. That really concerns me, how many thousands and thousands of dollars have been put on our Marion County roads that have been inferior quality, that we thought we were getting state approved. I don't know where that should go. I don't know what we should do about it, but that's shame on someone. So, I don't, that's horrible, as we have worked. But if Diane hadn't kept at it, I don't know if any of us would have still known. So, I appreciate that she went to this work. I hope that we get to the bottom of it, and I hope we figure out what's going on. So, thank you.
Any other comment?
Yeah, I think
She had what? Randy, do you have something?
I do.
Or you're waiting on someone? Okay. Tell them to come in if they have a comment.
Okay.
Okay, comment?
Hello.
Name?
My name is Michelle Butts. I just had a question for Commissioner Dahlke. I live at 1212 Pawnee, and I have some wind turbines going all around my house. And you were quoted in November of 2017 stating that you need to look out for the county, and this is in regards to wind turbines going in, and that you actually said people don't want to see something out there that looks ugly or degrades Marion County. So my question to you, Commissioner Dahlke, is why have you changed your opinion on that?
On what now?
That you have voted for the wind turbines, yes, and you know there's a lot of the community out there that has tried to voice, you know, their concerns, and you know, once again, the health and safety of the community, you guys are failing to consider the impact on the nearby property owners. And you know, a few years ago, you said that people don't want to see them. You want to look out for the county, and that they're ugly and it degrades Marion County. So I'm just asking, why have you changed your mind about that?
I think there's a lot of things that you gotta look at, whether, when you say look out for Marion County. Does that look out for financial situations that these can bring in?
I guess I should ask you, what were you meaning when you said that then?
Okay. My opinion is maybe I don't like it, but there's a lot of things that goes good for the county too. So we've given conditional use permits, the reason why I voted for it. to start with. And so we've got, if there's something new that's brought to the Planning and Zoning Commission that's detrimental, well then that's what we'll all three look at.
Okay, are you, like, when would be a good time for the community to be able to voice, you know, during the planning and zoning?
That is what the process is, yes.
Okay.
The reason why we asked for it was just to hear what was out there. I think that's why it was put on discussion.
Okay, well, that's pretty much my main question there, and, also, has Expedition Wind given you guys their environmental research report yet? Because at the meeting a couple weeks ago, they said they haven't finished it yet.
I don't believe there's been anything yet.
That normally is submitted through planning and zoning. I
Let's
don't
say,
believe anything has
that's
been
in the
submitted.
CUP application. I
Okay,
believe.
so when will that be available?
As soon as they
Apply.
apply. They have not applied yet.
Okay,
I know of.
okay, I have a lot of concern for that, especially that, you know, a lot of those turbines are going south of the reservoir, and, yeah, they're going south of the reservoir. I even have like a 7-acre body of water behind my house that it's filled with waterfowl. And, you know, the reservoir has some concerns, I think, about, flight patterns and bald eagles and herons and, you know, the wildlife, the ecology. And, you know, so much of the Flint Hills has already kind of been taken away. I mean, the history of it, I mean, there's gonna be 22,000 miles taken away. Does that raise any concern for you at all, commissioners?
22,000 miles are taken away. What is that?
Well,
It's-
22,000 acres.
Yeah, 22,000 acres, sorry. Yeah.
And we're checking you.
Yeah, sorry about that. That's a little upset. But 22,000 acres, like, yeah, this is my personal view. I mean, I watch the geese fly in. I see the bald eagles. I know there's bald eagles nest out there, and you have to have a permit to remove them. And even if they're inactive, you can't. I mean, it's hard to get those. So, I'm really interested to see their environmental research. It'd really be nice to have a third party, somebody that's not involved in this to be doing some research, has that, anything that raises concern for you guys? Expedition Wind is doing their own investigating and stuff like that, so.
That's something that will be looked at,
Yeah,
certainly.
like anyone can put out what they wanna put out.
Right.
And a lot of people don't have access to the internet out here and they can't research stuff on their own and, we all kind of feel like we've been blindsided by it. I have a clause in the very last page of the deed of my house saying that they can do whatever with my property and I didn't even sign that and, it's just really concerning for me.
But you bought the property with it.
Yeah, we bought the property and, we saw it on there. I just wasn't a part of the community project, so, I mean, when there's a new landowner that, it's kind of a no-brainer, they should maybe go to the current landowners and ask them and, start over,
That wasn't even given to you in a contract. I mean, when the real estate person, I don't know if you did it through real estate or not.
There was no contract, it was just attached to my deed and a clause.
No, but I'm saying, the real estate person didn't even present it to you or let you know about it or anything like that, that it was possibly going on.
Nope, we did a for sale by owner and there is not an actual, like I'm getting ready to go to the deeds office and get some copies and, stuff like that, because I have to do that for my lawyer. So, just kind of a little bit of a headache. One thing that's a little concerning too is like the public, I've been going through the Marion County minutes and it says, oh, there's an overwhelming majority of people that are for this. And nobody knew about it until, really knew about it, the plethora, until that nasty map was leaked, Did you guys see the map before it was leaked? Did you know?
No, you don't see them. I mean, that's the way all these wind companies do this. I mean, the Tampa project did the same thing, even Rex and that project down there, planning and zoning had a circle at the time this project was started.
Okay.
They was original circle, and that's what the boundary lines were supposed to be at that time.
And what year was that? Could you?
11 years ago.
At least 11, I'm not gonna say it's not more than that.
11 years ago, people were voicing their concerns about setbacks and the zoning is constantly saying it takes time and money. Well, how many years has it been? They've had enough time to look at that.
And we give a conditional use permit to build it, so that was at that time now. Whether we should put an ending date on it, then I think we did that 2 years ago. We put an ending date on it and they come back in and renewed that.
Yeah, I really just feel like there's a lot of people in the community and I'm sure, you'll be hearing about it. It'd be in our best interest if they would start over and, reevaluate some things because there's a lot of landowners. I'm not going to participate in it and there's a lot of them out there that don't want to.
Have you contacted them since you purchased the property saying this was in
No.
the agreement when you bought the property?
No, I have not contacted them, but they haven't even contacted me.
Well, and I'm not standing up for them, I'm just saying they may not know that it's transferred yet unless they pull every deed on anything that's
Shouldn't,
footprint.
isn't
Because,
that their responsibility?
Because.
It will be.
Yeah.
Once I'm sorry, but I just want to address what you're asking.
Yeah.
As far as you say they should start all over, well, that's what they're that's what they're proposing to do, like submitting a new conditional use permit application for this project.
Okay.
Rather than carry forward on the ones they already have, which they could build on,
Mhm.
because they've been, potentially.
Yeah.
They are proposing to submit a brand new application, and so that does start everything over.
Okay.
It goes all the way through zoning, all these issues can be studied again.
That's wonderful.
They would review everything that they submit, and then if the zoning commission feels like there's an area that they want more clarification on or study on, they can do that. They will hold at least one public hearing of which all the landowners within a certain radius of the entire project are notified, and it's also published.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
That would be great, because
Yes.
last time it was just the landowners that had the turbines. and
Well,
that was-
see, this all happened.
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah, this all happened a long time ago, and they went through the process. Some of the zoning regs have changed since then, and so you're right, it does make sense to do a new process. That's what the company is proposing, and that is what, if they submit their conditional use application, that's what will happen.
Okay.
The whole thing will be reviewed. Everyone would have the opportunity to attend a public meeting, and there will be an actual notification of every landowner within a certain, I don't even remember how far, but it seems like it's within a mile of the project. So inside the project and then within a radius of it. So that will happen if they submit an application, which they haven't done yet. So,
Okay.
and then it doesn't even come back to the commission until the planning commission has reviewed it and feels comfortable making a recommendation one way or the other. And then, once it comes to there's a 2-week protest period where people could protest that before it comes to the commission. And then when it does come to the commission, if they want to, or if they're comfortable with the project, that it's been completely vetted, they can either vote to go with the recommendation of the planning commission, they can vote to override it, or they can table it and ask, or send it back to them and ask them to look at other things that they haven't considered. So there's a lot of things that are designed into the process to protect the landowners. And those notifications haven't happened yet because this particular company came to the board first to start the conversations before just going out and doing the project and submitting the conditional use permit application. So it's causing some confusion, I think.
Yeah,
But there is a process.
Yeah, it just makes a lot of us think like, this is a shady company. There's been a couple of companies that have came in and, yeah, I just hope you guys do your research on Expedition Wind. Like, I know Pat Pelstring is his name. He said that Rex Savage had nothing to do with Windborne and everything, and come to find out he still has shares in it. So there's a couple other things he said that day that people weren't involved. So I guess I'm questioning that too. Like, if he's gonna fib a little and finagle on that, like, what else is he doing?
He addressed that when he was in last week about Rex Savage's.
Well, I don't know, is that part, Brad, of what the planning commission can review or does review at all or not? Or is that not a zoning issue for them?
It can be, depends upon how it comes up, but yeah, they can end up looking at the history of ownership.
Yeah, I think that's smart, because I would like to know exactly who we are dealing with, because I'm just as confused. I have no idea who we're dealing with. And I was doing some more research on it, and I found even more people that I didn't know was involved. And so it's, yeah, I just think on the county level, we need to know who we're dealing with.
Yeah, guard yourselves.
Yeah, and I would also ask the question, well, she brought the subject up. I was under the impression that today was the day that we were gonna get, he was gonna present something today. That's something else he said.
He didn't schedule anything on the agenda. I think
Well,
what he said
he
was
was
he was
here
going
and
to
he left.
try to
He
put
was up here in the hallway, and then we haven't seen
Well,
him.
he said within 10 days or something, he would give us so that we as a commission could look at it and it would address the problems or whatever. Well, he's not here, so I don't know what the deal is there.
I'm not sure if he was submitting it to the county as in planning and zoning to review or to the commission.
I thought it
So-
was coming to us, I thought.
That's what I thought too. That's the way I took away with it, that he was gonna give it to us.
He's not
We
here,
haven't
so.
received anything, so.
Okay.
Well, I appreciate your guys' time today. And thank you for clarifying that for me.
And something like
Clarifying.
your waterfowl or something issue, if the planning zoning sends that up for discussion, if they find something, it's gotta be something like that that they don't agree on.
Mhm.
Or don't vote it down and send it to us with that kind of
Yeah,
deal. So, yeah,
that
I
would
mean,
be,
it's,
That's the most, I'm just doing.
Yeah, the final vote is here, yes.
Okay.
But their commission, their commission comes, gives a recommendation.
Okay.
It can take 3 months, 4 months, it's hard to say.
Okay. Cool. Again, thank you, commissioners, for your time.
Thank you, Michelle, right?
Yes.
Other public comment? Anybody else, public comment? Okay. That was the last thing we had on the agenda.
So, can I bring something up then on that thing? So, I have another newspaper for you. And I will tell you, this is gonna be a 3-part series on the wind turbines. But each paper, now this is in Reno County at Pretty Prairie. And the thing that stood out in my mind on this, well, I have several things, but I'll just get to the bottom line because it ties into something that I said last week. And that is on the pilot. But here's what I wanted to also say on that, and I'm working with the state and stuff on taxes. The fact that they're tax exempt. In this particular article on Pretty Prairie, the fact, and this is NextEra, which NextEra is the wind farm that's over in Reno now, which will probably come up into Marion County on the bottom end on the west side if they follow through on that rumor that I hear. And they're one of the biggest companies out there. But in this particular case, they are saving $56 million over the 10-year period by not being taxed through that pilot. So when these wind companies take and give the county crumbs like $5 million, or in the case of Marion County, $200,000 a year, they're making mega money just by being tax exempt. So when you say benefit to the county, I have to look at the dollars. And what I'm finding so far, if they were taxed or even get taxed on the land versus the pilot, I'm not sure where the benefit actually lays yet, just on the preliminary figures that I have at this point. And it's another very interesting thing when you talk about the benefit to the county, because that's the only place the county is going to benefit really is through the pilot. And if we don't get that correct, I mean, if you say jobs, yeah, they do create 3 or 4 jobs. And yeah, those people do buy gas. But I mean, I'm talking about a benefit to the county. So this is staggering that they're going to save $56 million over 10 years period of time by being tax exempt. But that just brings to light the numbers that we're looking at here on these wind projects. So I just want to bring that out.
Is that my copy?
Oh, you may
have an
have,
extra
yes,
one?
absolutely, ma'am.
Thank you.
It's interesting, and this does say right here, this is fascinating too. It does say right here at the top of this that this is going to be, this is the first of a 3-part series that they will print. If you read throughout this, they bring up several facts and things that other counties, and that's why it caught my eye, because every detail, what the other counties are experiencing, to me is important to take at least note of. So that's why I bring them to you. Just so that you-
Have they already had their planning commission meeting? It says they're going to bring it to the...
No, I think if I'm not mistaken, this is on April the 2nd, if I'm not mistaken.
Actually,
Oh, no, that's,
April 4th.
that's which one?
April 4th.
April
Yeah.
4th, okay, oh, okay, thank you. Yeah, so it's, and they have a lot of protests. I mean, they have talk about, I read one place has almost 80% of proposal against it to the people, but you know, it's just fascinating to see what other counties are going through and how it's played. But I think the bottom line is the dollars. And so that's where I'm working. Don't know if it'll get me anywhere or not, but I'm going to bring it out anyway.
Any other comments? Anybody standing out there that wants to make a comment that doesn't know we're still in session? There being none, make a motion to, oh wait,
yes.
do you have one, sir?
I just had one comment. And I talked to you on the phone once, Kent. My name's David Marsh, and I did some analysis too on the wind project and the proposed one. And I do have a summary paper that I'd be willing to share with each one of you. Probably best if I had an email, because I have a lot of links that you can go to different studies that have been done by scientists, and engineers, other people. And you know, so if you'd like that, I do have a copy, you're welcome to it. And then if I get your email, I'll be glad to email it to you so you can pull up this other information.
I would like to have a copy. I'll provide you with mine email.
Okay.
I want to do that. Dave, are you a resident within the?
I'm in Menno County, Randy.
Okay.
What county?
Minnow Township.
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
Menno
Menno
Township. Okay.
I misspoke. And we got interested because we found out that neighbors of ours had signed leases 2 years ago. I'm going, what's going on?
Yeah, they was over here signing, bringing them in, registering them a couple years ago.
And like you mentioned, Randy, I kind of gathered, it kind of goes under the radar for a long time, then it pops up, and then people may or may not know what they've signed, because probably most people don't secure legal counsel to really understand what's going on. And so there's a plethora of information. I'm just almost overwhelmed. I appreciate you guys digging into it.
Yeah. And there's actually leases southwest of you along the Marion McPherson County line.
I wouldn't be surprised.
And the interesting thing about those leases are, a lot of those were signed 9, 10 years ago, but they run with the property. So it's on the deeds that if you're not aware of it, like that lady, there's a lot of them like that lady. I mean, that's kind of rough.
It don't go with landowners, it goes with
Goes
the
with the
property.
property.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, of course, that would show up on your, you know, when you purchase a property, that's gonna show up on the title insurance.
Yeah, I guess
Any
I'll
kind of
go unless you
lease.
read all your title insurance. Well, it's been troubling because we've lived in Nebraska, we've lived in Oklahoma, I've been banking for 25 years. We moved specifically to Marion County because of the style of life. And then we have 12 acres there and basically been blindsided. And I'm thinking, we don't have to live here. And other people think that too, if things like this go through. That's not a threat, it's just a fact.
That's true.
But anyhow, I'll quit with that.
You know, I had a lady who is for the wind project sent me an email. I think you guys probably got it too. And it was a long email. And her big thing was, well, Marion County's gonna become a bedroom county. That's what was her phrase, a bedroom county. I haven't heard that very long. But, and I read her email multiple times, and Marion County's gonna be a bedroom county. If we say no to this project or other things that come up as well. And you know what? I don't think that's a bad thing. I mean, there's a lot of stuff goes on in bedrooms. This is a great county.
Be careful what you say.
No, it's a good deal. It's a good deal. People come here to get away from that.
I can cut that
And that's what you do.
Randy, do you have anything that you haven't already heard?
Just, you know, just kind of to reiterate what you and him said, you know, you really are right when they do a title search, that should show up.
Right.
And depending on what realtor you do, buy a piece, depending on what realtor you have, when you buy a piece of property, you know, it may or may not say, hey, you know, you do have a lease from Windborne Energy
Right.
or whoever.
Right.
But kind of what I've been hearing is, part of the time, they don't bother to tell anybody that. And I know you should research it yourself. You shouldn't only rely on the title company. You should do part of that
Right.
yourself.
And, you know, the
But
landowner
there's been
has
a
to,
lot of people that are like, oh gosh, what do we do now?
if the landowner doesn't disclose to the realtor when they list that, you aren't gonna know until you get a title search.
Until,
Right.
like I say, sometimes, you know, it's almost like, I think I said 2 or 3 meetings ago, you know, it's almost like you 3 commissioners almost have to save everybody from himself. It's not an easy job, you know. That's almost what's happening.
Interesting comment, Randy.
Well,
Okay. Anything else? Anything else from the hall?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay. Move and Joe. We're adjourned.